The phone was still on. I could hear him breathing, that heavy, impatient exhale he always made when he thought no one was listening. I'd called to tell him about the promotion. Stupid, I know. At 32 years old, I was still seeking his approval like a child waving a crayon drawing. Dad? You there? Silence. Then rustling. The muffled sound of him setting the phone down. Not hanging up. Just setting it down. I should have ended the call. I didn't. Was that her? A woman's voice. Linda. His wife of 6 years. Yeah. His voice was flat, dismissive. Going on about some job thing. You didn't even congratulate her? Why would I? It's not like she earned it. My hand tightened around my own phone. The kitchen suddenly felt too bright, too small. Richard, that's harsh. Linda's voice carried that performative concern she used when she wanted to sound reasonable. She's still your daughter. Is she? He laughed. Not a real laugh. The kind that cuts. She's a burden, Linda. Always has been. Calls me expecting. I don't know what she expects anymore. She owns that house, though. That has to be worth $980,000 last appraisal. And yes, before you ask, I've thought about it. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. Thought about what? Linda's voice sharpened with interest. How to get her to sign it over. Or at least let us use it as collateral for the lake house. She owes me that much. I raised her, didn't I? Paid for her college, her car, everything. She's worthless on her own. That house is the only valuable thing about her. I stood there in my kitchen, the one I'd renovated with my own money, my own sweat, and I felt something inside me go perfectly, utterly still. Not broken. Still. Like water freezing over. Richard. I'm serious. She's got no husband, no kids, no real ties. What's she going to do with a 4-bedroom house? She should be grateful we're even considering letting her help with the investment. I pressed the red button. The call ended. The silence that followed was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. That was the moment I stopped being his daughter. Before I continue, tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing your locations. Now back to the story. I need you to understand something. I wasn't unloved in the obvious ways. My father never hit me. He paid for things. He showed up to graduations, stood in the back with his arms crossed, nodded once when I walked across the stage. He was present, in the technical sense. But presence isn't the same as being seen. My mother died when I was 7. Cancer. The quick kind, the kind that doesn't give you time to prepare. One day she was braiding my hair, the next she was in a hospital bed that smelled like bleach and fear, and then she was gone. Dad remarried when I was 9. Linda was nice enough at first, brought cookies to my classroom, asked about my homework, smiled with all her teeth. She had 2 sons from a previous marriage, Tyler and Josh. 12 and 14. Loud boys who took up space the way boys do, sprawling across couches, filling rooms with their voices and their needs. The house became theirs. I became the quiet one in the corner. It wasn't cruelty exactly. It was something more insidious, indifference with a polite mask. Dinner conversations flowed around me. Dad asked Tyler about football, Josh about college plans. Linda talked about her book club, her yoga class, her redecorating ideas. I learned to eat quickly and excuse myself before anyone noticed I hadn't spoken. When I graduated high school with honors, Dad handed me a card with a check inside. $500. For college supplies, he said. Tyler got a car that same month. A used Honda, sure, but it had a bow on it. There were pictures. Linda posted them on Facebook with the caption, "So proud of our grad." I took the bus to community college. Worked nights at a diner. Slept 4 hours and studied 6. Transferred to state school on a partial scholarship. Graduated with a degree in accounting and a job offer in the same week. I bought my first car with my own money. A 12-year-old Toyota that rattled when it rained. Dad saw it once and said, "You should have asked me to co-sign for something better." I didn't ask him why he never offered. The house came from my mother's side. My grandmother, her mother, died when I was 26 and left it to me in her will. Not to Dad. To me. Specifically. It was a small miracle wrapped in legal paper. The house wasn't much then. A 1970s ranch with shag carpet and wallpaper that hadn't been changed since Nixon was president. But it was in a good neighborhood, the kind that was quietly appreciating while everyone focused on flashier developments. I spent 5 years fixing it. Ripped up the carpet myself, hired contractors for the big stuff, learned to tile from YouTube videos. Painted every room. Replaced the roof. Landscaped the yard. I poured every spare dollar and every weekend into that house. Dad visited once during renovations. Walked through with his hands in his pockets, looked at the kitchen I'd just finished, white subway tile, new cabinets, fixtures I'd saved for months to afford, and said, "Seems like a lot of work for one person." Linda touched his arm. "It's lovely, though. Really. You've done a great job, sweetie." Sweetie. Like I was a child who'd cleaned my room. The appraisal came back at $980,000 last spring. The neighborhood had boomed. Young families, tech workers, people who wanted good schools and safe streets. I'd somehow stumbled into accidental wealth. I didn't tell Dad the number. But Linda had a friend who was a realtor. Word traveled. That's when the calls started. The first call came 3 weeks after the appraisal. "Hey, kiddo. Been thinking about you." Kiddo. He hadn't called me that since I was 8. "Hi, Dad. Listen, Linda and I were talking. You know we've been looking at that lake house property, right? The one up near Clearwater? You mentioned it. Well, we're a little short on the down payment. Thought maybe you could help out. Family investment, you know? We'd pay you back once it appreciates." I was at my desk at work, spreadsheets open, phone tucked against my shoulder. "How much are you short?" "Couple $100,000. But hear me out, you could take a home equity line on your place. Interest rates are good right now. And it's not like you're using all that space." Something cold settled in my chest. "I'll think about it. Don't think too long. These properties move fast." He hung up before I could answer. The second call came on my birthday. November 3rd. He didn't wish me a happy birthday. "So, what did you decide?" "About what?" I knew exactly what. The equity line. The investment. "Were you not listening?" "I heard you, Dad. I'm just not interested." Silence. Then, "Not interested? It's family, Rachel. We're talking about building something together. You're talking about using my house as collateral for your vacation property. Don't be dramatic. This is a smart financial move. For you. For us. God, when did you get so selfish?" I hung up. My hands were shaking. The third call was the one I answered on that Tuesday in March. The one where he forgot to hang up. The one that changed everything. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my bed, the one I'd bought with my own money, in the house my grandmother left to me, and stared at the ceiling until the dark turned gray. "She's worthless. The only valuable thing about her." The words played on a loop, each repetition carving a little deeper. Here's what I realized somewhere around 3 a.m. I had spent my entire life trying to earn something that was never mine to earn. Love isn't a performance review. You can't accumulate enough good behavior to unlock it. Some people will never see you. And the ones who only see you as a resource aren't family. They're opportunists with your last name. By the time the sun came up, I knew what I was going to do. Nothing. Not yet. I was going to watch. I went to work. Smiled at my colleagues. Ate lunch at my desk. Answered emails. Normal Tuesday, normal life. Dad called that afternoon. "Hey, sorry we got disconnected earlier." "It's fine. So about that promotion, congrats, I guess." I let the silence stretch. "Anyway," he continued, "Linda wants to have you over for dinner this weekend. Family thing. You free Saturday?" "I'll check my calendar." "Come on, don't be like that. It's just dinner." I said I'll check. I hung up. Blocked his number. Then unblocked it. I wanted to see what would happen. Saturday came. I went to dinner. Linda opened the door in an apron, smelling like rosemary and performance. "Rachel, come in, come in. It's been too long." It had been 5 weeks. Not long at all. Tyler was there with his girlfriend, some blonde woman who worked in marketing and laughed too loud at everything. Josh was on his phone, barely looked up when I walked in. Dad hugged me. The kind of hug that's more obligation than affection, brief, distant, over before it began. "Good to see you, kiddo." I smiled. Said nothing. Dinner was pot roast. Linda's specialty, she reminded us 3 times. The table was set with the nice dishes, candles, cloth napkins. This was a production. We ate. Made small talk. Tyler's girlfriend dominated the conversation, talking about her company's new social media strategy, while everyone nodded, like she was revealing the secrets of the universe. Then over dessert, Dad cleared his throat. "So, Rachel, been meaning to talk to you about something." Here it was. "We're moving forward with the lake house. Got the inspection done, everything looks good. But we're still short on the down payment." I took a bite of apple pie. Chewed slowly. "And," I said, "and we need to know if you're in or out. No pressure, but we need an answer." Linda touched his hand. "What Richard means is, we'd love to have you be part of this. It could be a family retreat. Somewhere we all go together." I looked at her. Really looked. Saw the calculation behind the warmth, the script she'd rehearsed. "How much do you need?" Dad leaned forward. 200,000 would do it. You could get that in a week with your equity. And what do I get? Get? He blinked, confused. In return. What's my stake in this family retreat? Well, you'd have access, of course. Whenever you wanted. Access to a property I financed but don't own. It's not like that. What is it like, Dad? The table went quiet. Tyler looked at his phone. Josh studied his pie. Linda's smile tightened. Dad sighed, the sound of a man whose patience was being tested. It's called helping family. Something you'd understand if you thought about anyone besides yourself. I set my fork down. Stood up. Thank you for dinner, Linda. It was lovely. Rachel, don't be dramatic. I walked out. No one followed me. Monday morning I called a realtor. Not Linda's friend. Someone from a different firm. Someone I'd researched, someone with excellent reviews and no connection to my family whatsoever. Her name was Patricia Chin. Mid-50s, sharp suit, handshake like a contract. Tell me what you're thinking, she said. I want to sell my house. The one on Maple? Yes. May I ask why? That's a fantastic property. Great neighborhood. I'm ready for something new. She studied me for a moment. The way people do when they sense there's more to the story but know better than to ask. All right. Let's talk timeline. The market was perfect. Spring buying season. Low inventory. Families desperate for good school districts. Patricia suggested minor staging. I agreed. She brought in furniture, art, plants. Made the house look like a spread in a magazine. Better than I'd ever made it look living there. We listed on a Thursday. Had 5 showings by Sunday. 3 offers by Tuesday. I accepted the highest, $1,025,000. Cash buyer. 30-day close. No contingencies. I signed the paperwork in Patricia's office, her assistant notarizing each page while I initialed and dated with a calm hand. Congratulations, Patricia said. This is a life-changing sale. Yes, I said. It is. I didn't tell my father. I packed my things slowly, methodically. Hired movers for the furniture I wanted to keep, donated the rest. Opened a new bank account at a different institution. Transferred the funds the day the sale closed. The house I'd bought was smaller. A condo in a different part of town, overlooking the river. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, modern kitchen, balcony with a view. It cost $340,000. I paid cash. The rest went into investments. Index funds, bonds, a retirement account I'd never properly funded before. I met with a financial advisor, someone who talked about my goals, my future, my independence. Not once did she ask about my family. It was the most respectful conversation I'd had in years. The call came 6 weeks after closing. Linda. Rachel, what the hell did you do? I was on my balcony, coffee in hand, watching the river catch the morning light. Good morning, Linda. Don't good morning me. Debbie Hutchins just told me your house sold. Sold. She saw the listing go to pending, and then close. When were you going to tell us? I wasn't. Silence. Then, what do you mean you weren't? I sold my house. It's not really anyone's business but mine. Not anyone's, Rachel. We were counting on that house. For what? For the, you know what for? The equity line. The investment. We had plans. You had plans. Your father is going to lose his mind when he finds out. Then don't tell him. Don't tell him? Rachel, this is insane. You can't just. I can actually. I did. It's done. You're being incredibly selfish. Yeah, I said. I've heard that before. I hung up. Blocked her number this time. For real. Dad showed up at my old address 3 days later. I know because Patricia called me. Your father is standing in the driveway of your old property, demanding to know where you are. The new owners called me. He's not being reasonable. What's he saying? That you stole from him. That the house was supposed to be family property. That you, quote, betrayed your own blood. I closed my eyes. Give me the new owner's number. I'll handle it. I called the new owners, a young couple, expecting their first child, and apologized. Explained that my father wasn't dangerous, just entitled. Offered to pay for a security system installation if they felt unsafe. They were kind. Said it was fine. Said he'd left after they threatened to call the police. I thanked them. Meant it. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I changed my number. If you're still watching right now, you're exactly the kind of viewer I love. Subscribe so I can keep giving you stories that touch your heart. Hit that bell, so you never miss what happens next. The first week of silence was strange. I kept checking my phone, expecting it to ring. Expecting Dad to somehow find my new number, to show up at my office, to corner me in a parking lot with accusations and demands. Nothing. The The second week, I started to relax. Went to work, came home, cooked dinner for one, sat on my balcony and read. Simple. Quiet. Mine. The third week, a letter arrived at my office. It was from Tyler. Rachel. Dad asked me to reach out. He's really hurt by what you did. We all are. I don't know what's going on with you, but this isn't how family treats each other. Whatever happened, we can work it out. Just call him. Please. Tyler. I read it twice. Then put it through the office shredder. A month passed. Then 2. Spring turned to summer. I got another promotion at work, one I didn't tell anyone outside my office about. Took a weekend trip to the coast. Bought art for my walls. Adopted a cat from the shelter. An old gray tabby named Maurice who'd been there for 8 months. Nobody wants the old ones, the shelter volunteer said sadly. I do, I said. Maurice slept on my bed that first night, purring like a small engine. I lay there in the dark, hand on his warm fur, and realized I hadn't felt this peaceful in years. Maybe ever. The email came in August. Subject line, family emergency. From Linda. Rachel, your father had a health scare. He's okay, but it made us all realize how fragile life is. He wants to see you. Please. He's your father. Linda. I stared at the email for a long time. Waited for the guilt to hit. The pull. The old instinct to fix things, to be the good daughter, to show up because that's what you do when family calls. It didn't come. Instead, I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness. Just a vast, empty calm. I closed the email. Didn't respond. September brought a LinkedIn message from Josh. Hey, heard you're doing well. Dad won't say it, but he misses you. We all do. Life's too short for whatever this is. I read it during lunch. Thought about responding. Thought about explaining. Then I realized they didn't want to understand. They wanted me to comply. There's a difference. I archived the message. October. I was in a coffee shop near my condo, laptop open, working on a budget proposal, when someone sat down across from me. Linda. You're hard to find, she said. I closed my laptop. I didn't want to be found. Clearly. She ordered a coffee from the passing barista, settled in like she planned to stay. We need to talk. No, we don't. Rachel. She leaned forward, voice low, urgent. Your father is struggling. The lake house deal fell through. We're in a difficult position financially. He blames himself. Blames me. But mostly he blames you. That sounds like a him problem. Her eyes flashed. When did you become so cold? I almost laughed. Cold. As if warmth had ever been offered in return. I heard him, Linda. She blinked. Heard what? The phone call. Back in March. He didn't hang up. I heard everything. What he said about me. What you said. The whole conversation. The color drained from her face. Rachel, you have to understand, he was frustrated, he didn't mean. He called me worthless. Said the only valuable thing about me was my house. Said he'd raised me so I owed him. My voice was steady, calm. Facts, not feelings. You asked how to get me to sign it over. We were just talking. People say things when they're stressed. You're right. They do. And I finally listened. Linda's coffee arrived. She didn't touch it. What do you want? She finally asked. Money? An apology? What will it take to fix this? Nothing. Nothing. You can't fix something that was never built right in the first place. I opened my laptop again, pulled up my proposal. I'm not interested in repairing a relationship that only existed when you needed something from me. That's not fair. Maybe not. But it's true. She sat there for another minute, searching my face for something, guilt, hesitation, a crack she could widen. She didn't find it. You've changed, she said finally. No, I said. I just stopped pretending. She left her coffee untouched. Walked out without another word. I went back to my proposal. Maurice was waiting when I got home. A year later, I got a Christmas card. It came to my office. Someone must have done some digging. Linda's handwriting on the envelope. Inside, a generic card with a snowy cabin on the front. Wishing you peace and joy this season. No personal note. No apology. Just signatures. Richard, Linda, Tyler, Josh. I held it for a moment. Wondered if I should feel something. Relief. Anger. Grief for what never was. Instead, I felt curious. Curious about what my life would have been if I'd given in. If I'd signed the equity line. If I'd kept trying to earn love from people who'd already decided I wasn't worth the effort. I put the card in the recycling bin. My life now is smaller in some ways, larger in others. I have friends from work. Real ones. People who invite me to dinner parties and remember my birthday and ask how I'm doing without wanting anything in return. I have Maurice, who's gained 3 pounds and discovered he likes sleeping in sunbeams. I have my condo with its river view, my investments quietly growing, my career advancing because I actually have the energy to focus on it now. I have weekends where I do nothing, where I read or walk or sit on my balcony and just exist, without performing, without justifying, without bracing for the next demand disguised as family obligation. I have peace. It's not the kind of peace that comes from resolution or closure. There was no final confrontation, no dramatic scene where I laid out my pain and they understood and we all cried and healed. This is the peace that comes from leaving, from realizing that some relationships are like houses with bad foundations. No amount of renovation will make them safe to live in. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who only love what you can do for them. People ask sometimes, coworkers who've known me for years, who notice I never mention family during the holidays. Do you have family nearby? And I smile and say, not really. And that's true. Because family isn't blood. Family is the people who see you, really see you, and choose to stay. Not because they need something. Not because obligation binds them. But because you matter. I think about my father sometimes. Wonder if he ever replays that phone call in his mind. If he remembers what he said. If it ever occurs to him that I heard. Probably not. People like that don't tend toward self-reflection. They just move on to the next target, the next opportunity, the next person they can position as the villain in their story. And I let them. Because the truth is, I don't need him to understand. I don't need an apology. I don't need closure. I already have what I need. I have myself. And after a lifetime of trying to be enough for people who would never think I finally understand. I always was. I just had to stop asking them for permission to believe it. Sometimes the loudest revenge is simply leaving. And never explaining why. If you're listening to this and wondering why you always feel exhausted around certain people, it might not be you. It might be the price of loving people who only value what you give.